Hi, I published GCLI 2.1 onto the GitHub repository earlier this week, and hopefully we'll be pushing it to the LabVIEW Tools network very shortly too. And I'm really pleased with this because it has added a few features. It's really been focused on making it easier to build tools to work with GCLI and the command line. And it's been something I've been wanting to do for a while because while GCLI has enabled some tool development, I think I can make it easier for people. So I'm going to show you a tool that I've built which kind of shows off some of the new features that are available. So this is the VI package API. So this is going to be a tool that allows us to build packages and apply configurations from the command line, and probably more in the future. And I'm just going to open this up in LabVIEW and show you what we have. So we're going to look at the build case here. And so some things are just the same. We've still got that CLI interface, which is going to allow us to connect and communicate with the GCLI tool over the command line. We've got a couple of new features on here that are worth talking about. So down here we have what I call the options parser. So this is going to make it easier to work with options that are sent in over the command line and allow us to have optional flags, which really can make these tools far easier to use. So for example here we have two optional flags. One is the -build number, which will set the build number of the package before we run it, or -version number, which will allow us to set the whole version number before we build it. And so what this is doing here, this cluster array, is defining the different options that we might expect. And so for each option we can specify whether it has a value or it's just a flag. So if it's just a flag, it might be like -v for verbose. You don't need to add any data to this, we just need to see that someone's entered that. Or a value means we're going to get the tag, and then we're going to get some value to read in. And then the next array is the tags that are going to be supported by this. So we can have more than one tag for a given option, so if you want a long version or a short version. A build number, so this is going to be the name we're going to use to access that in our software. A description. This doesn't actually do anything yet, but the library that I used for this in GCLI has a really nice feature of generating your help description for you. So I've kind of put this in now so that I can start filling it out, and then if I get to that feature it'll be ready to go. And then we can specify these to be required or not, which we can detect later, and also have a default value if they're not set. And so we configure the settings, and then we use this pass arguments, we give it all the arguments from the CLI, and that is going to look for these flags. This output here, let me bring up the context help. This output here is going to tell us if there are any options missing and what they are. So if we had required options, we can detect that. And then to get what I want out of the options, the first thing I've got here is trailing arguments. So these are anything that's being put in which isn't attached to one of these option flags. Or we can get the values for the individual options based on the key. So we can get the version number, and we'll see what its value is and whether it's been set or not. So we can detect in the software, has the user actually specified a value or not. And if they haven't, that'll just return the default value. So here we can see we're checking for that version number or the build number, and then obviously depending on which of those is set, it alters our update slightly. But then we call this update step first. The other thing I wanted to make it really easy to do is work with paths without having to remember how it all works. So here from our CLI start now, we've got a new output which is going to provide us with a working directory where the GCLI tool was launched. And then there's this path from the current working directory, CWD, and that will take that working directory and it will take a parameter from the arguments, which can be an absolute path, it can be just a file name, or it can be a relative path to the working directory, and this will convert that to an absolute path we can work with. So, mostly it's not doing anything too clever, but it's just there and ready to use without any guesswork. So the other thing that I've done is actually created a tools folder. So under VI lib, there's a certain folder where the GCLI toolkit's going to look. So if I just fire up a command line, and I'm just going to do it under my LabVIEW CLI source so we can show you something on that. So normally, or in the old version of GCLI, if we put in GCLI, let's do LV for 2011, and we put in a file name that doesn't exist, so that doesn't exist where we're running this, it would error. But now what it's also going to do is it's going to search this directory, so there's an echo test in there. So there's an echo test and a quick LabVIEW as a default tools that ship with GCLI. So if I do echo, and I can just do 1, 2, what it's going to do is it's going to look in that directory in LabVIEW, and it's going to run that for me. And if we go back to our command line, we just get those parameters echoed back. So with my VI package builder, what I've done is I've created a VI package for installing it, so we're going to get much easier installs. It's going to be version specific as well, so you're going to install each tool for each version of LabVIEW, and I'm hoping that should reduce the risk of tools getting resaved in different versions if you have multiple versions installed on one system. So what I've done is just added a new destination, which is based in VI lib, and it's GCLI tools is the directory. And then for my specific functions that I want to be callable from there, we set that as the destination for the VI package. All the support files could go in there, or they can go in a toolkit's VI still. I'm toying with a few of the best practices around this, and I'm sure they'll come out as people use it more. My feeling right now is to keep that GCLI folder as clean as possible and only install the VIs directly that are going to be called into there. But you can do both. So if I come back here, I'm going to do so I've already installed this to LabVIEW 2011, LV 2011. You do always want to be setting a LabVIEW version when you're using this, because obviously it's got to look in the right VI lib. So let's do VIP build and do our double dash, and then we're going to pass in our parameters. If you remember, we can put in a build number, and then I need to specify a VI package. So in here I've got a LabVIEW source folder, so we'll do that, and then we'll look for our VIPB file. Hit run. It's going to launch LabVIEW as usual. It's going to get confused because I've still got it open. Let me cancel that. Right, let me close that and try that again. Just going to kill this. Yeah. So this is going to launch my VIPB tool, and obviously behind the scenes it's firing up VI package manager, it's doing whatever it needs to do there. You can see VI package manager working here. And we're complete. Well, we're not complete, it's thrown a load of errors. Yeah, probably not the best way to demo GCLI is to try and call GCLI, because of course that creates a load of conflicts. So we've just had an error out there. But you can see the process, and obviously if we were not causing cross-linking, then we wouldn't have any of those same problems. So let me know what you think. Start building tools. I'm going to put a wiki page up with some more instructions and best practices, and obviously those are going to evolve as people actually use this. And yeah, get in touch if you have any questions.